If you're watching this right now, get ready to be completely thrown on any stereotype of Africa that you may have had as a continent. But I was totally wrong. The majority of African Americans are completely opposite of African Africans, or at least their political views are. Example one, check this out.
Madam President, what's your position on decriminalizing homosexual acts in Liberia?
I've already taken a position on that we're not going to sign any such law.
You won't sign any law to decriminalize?
I won't sign any law that has to do with that area, none whatsoever. We like ourselves just the way we are.
So in essence, homosexuality for two gay men under the books is illegal in Liberia?
We've got certain traditional values in our society that we'd like to preserve.
So you're saying you wouldn't decriminalize that current law?
I've just said to you, we're going to maintain our traditional values.
There she is, ladies and gentlemen. The first female black president of Africa rejects LGBTQ plus rights. She rejected them completely, said, we're fine the way we are. Somebody make her the face of hate, of a hate crime. Okay, I mean, that's just the first example of many that I'm going to show you where these Africa as a continent has 54 countries in it. These countries inside of Africa, Rwanda, Uganda, Liberia, such and such, and all these, they are totally bucking the United States of America right now. They're totally going against this LGBTQ thing with everything they've got in there. Are they wrong for wanting to preserve their traditions? Why aren't we going after Syria and Libya and Afghanistan and all these other Muslim countries or Hindu countries that are the same way? Their religion doesn't let them promote homosexuality, but we're not going after them. We're attacking Africa. We're trying to bribe them with money. This is a perfect crime versus sin example. Normally, we don't allow minors to partake in sinful acts or self-harmful acts, decisions or consequences until they're 18 or of a certain age. That's why the United States even has taxes known as sin taxes that's charged on beers and cigarettes, etc., stuff like that. But for punishing sinful acts isn't really a government's job. They're supposed to punish crimes, and when government-controlling entities want to come in and sentence you on criminal charges for sinful acts, well, that's another story. However, a little leaven's a whole lump. Sleeping with a person of the same sex, I don't agree with it. I don't get it. My faith stands totally against it. But if you go in front of a judge for a crime, they don't prop open the Bible and quote Romans 1 as a law. They have a criminal laws that the statutes are prescribed as remedies for the crimes because not everyone adheres to one belief system. We get it. However, I see it as a sin, not as a crime. But when you see the little leaven coming in and then you see transgenders pushing their stuff on kids, well, now we have a serious crime taking place. Now we have criminals and laws that already address it. But for some reason, the government is promoting a lifestyle which encourages the sin that results in a crime. Now, they've always promoted sin. The government's always promoted sinful acts, such as drinking, smoking, yada, yada, yada. But not often have they promoted crime unless it causes war or benefits the government when crimes are committed. Crimes that usually would get you or I thrown in the slammer, but of course they hide and pardon themselves when they do it. No problem. Hypocrisy in politicians are today's norm. Where's the list of Epstein Island, for example? Now, I'm going to go to the next one. Another president of Africa. This is going to get good. The president of Rwanda is calling it a problem. Homosexuality is a problem, and he's saying it's not ours. We don't want it. Keep it. Check it out.
I'm wondering, is the LGBT community a part of the future of Rwanda?
LGBT.
Homosexuality.
Yes. It hasn't been our problem. And we don't intend to make it a problem.
So there's the president of Rwanda saying it's not our problem and we don't intend to make it that way. Is he wrong? Would it create problems in their country? If it would, then why would they promote this? I mean, other than getting $80 million from the government, from the United States to say, okay, throw up some flags. Gentleman from Africa, Mapanga.
Arrogance of the Americans. The bulliness of the Americans. Let me even throw it on the West side. America right now comes to Tanzania, comes to Ghana, comes to Zambia with 16 million. The 16 million, ask me, what is it for?
What is it for?
For human rights. Across the river, China and Russia coming to South Africa. Ask me for what?
For what?
For a military training and skills sharing of security. So the Americans are more interested in a transgender, homosexual agenda around the world. They will invest their money and give you money to protect human rights. Russia and China are coming with weapons and militarization strategies so that we can protect ourselves. So I want to say this very loud and clear to the Americans. Continue on your transgender agenda. Stay there. Leave us to do politics on the other side. Because what we need right now is not a minority human rights activation. What we need is a societal transformation. And for you as Americans to think that we really envy that when you have an anti-lesbian, anti-gay, LGBT principle, then tourists would drop. Are you saying to me that all the tourists are gay? Question number one. Question number two, are you saying that we don't have a right to expressing ourselves as Africans? Question number three, if democracy means majority rules and majority votes against a principle, then why won't you allow that to become law? Are you saying the minority must manage the majority or the majority must manage the minority? Then if that whole ideology is wrong, then take democracy in a nice black dustbin bag and throw it outside. Because what you are telling us is by the people, for the people, with the people, and all those slogans you hear, what democracy represents. If we are 10 in the room and 9 people say no, and one person says yes, democracy says you go with the majority, then why do you philosophically want to manipulate the will of the majority to favor the will of the minority? Then this is where it really gets confusing to me.
The community in Uganda is requesting to have a meeting with you. Would you give them an ear in regard? The homosexuals in Uganda, they are requesting to have audience with you. Yeah. So they say, no, hold on. No, they say their side of the story has not been heard and they would kindly beg to meet you so that you get to hear that side of the story. That's number one.
We want to work with the West. We have been working with the West. They cannot force us to do something like this, which is so fundamentally wrong.
There is no right, if you look at the Constitution of Kenya and the laws we have in this country, to be gay, to be a lesbian, to be transgender, or to be queer, which is what the Q stands for in LGBTQ. To the contrary, we should read the provisions of Article 45 of the Constitution. First, it places the family at the very heart of the society. In fact, what it says is that the family is the fundamental unit of the society. At sub-article 2 of Article 45, it says only people of opposite gender can marry one another. And that is the law of Kenya. I'm aware this thing is in all government offices. This thing is even in parliament. This thing is even in the media. This thing is percolating all over. But I want to tell the people imagining we can withdraw, because I've been receiving threats telling me, Kaluma, withdraw from that enterprise. Tell them to study my history with matters concerning the family. Yeah. We brought down the slave queens the other day. Kaluma brought the Marriage Act, which has consolidated all marriage laws. Up to the time we brought the Matrimonial Property Act, Kenya was relying on 1882 laws of England on matrimonial property. On family, there is no backpedaling. And don't call me to say I'll not go to your country. What do we lack in Kenya? You can cancel your visa. I was a short while back in a foreign country, and you can imagine being approached by a fellow man asking me to go out and mess with him, sleep with him. And the guy has the audacity to tell me I look nicely round. Can you imagine? What a level of perversion. So I'm telling our people that This is an enterprise which is going on. There is no reverse gear, and it is going to succeed. On the day this bill is going to be tabled, it is going to be Kenya versus Sodom and Gomorrah, the other side. Yeah. Anybody who will rise to oppose will belong, and Kenyans will see them to Sodom and Gomorrah immediately. And as Kenyans will fight very hard, and I know we are more than the people of Sodom and Gomorrah sent in this parliament, I know we will succeed. So I appreciate what is happening. The bill has been drafted. We are now waiting for Parliament to move forward. But as we do that, we want to encourage our institutions to know that they exist for Kenya, not for foreign powers. Do you find it any coincidental that that determination by a majority of the bench members in the Supreme Court was handed down when the First Lady of the United States of America was arriving in Kenya? It's not a coincidence. Is it coincidental that then you see her giving us some 16 billion for hunger? This hunger of ours, which makes people think our moralities can be bought. Why don't we have measures to end it? And remember, imagine even if you are a child, the Supreme Court rightly says these things are criminal acts in Kenya. They're not just sins. But then the Supreme Court goes ahead and says that the association of these criminals still has to be registered. What are you talking about? What a contradiction. It's like telling convicts, murder convicts, you can register murderers association. What will stop terrorists from approaching the NGOs board to say we also want to be registered? It will stop rapists from saying we can now be registered.
Wow. He's likening America and those who stand with LGBTQ plus as Sodom and Gomorrah, and saying God will have their revenge on them. That's a dangerous place to be. And this is the African countries that are coming up against the woke agenda, the LGBTQ. They are saying it's not, this isn't how we live. This isn't how we do things. We have crimes against that. And I mean, America is not to be the police of the world. We're supposed to try to we can't even police our own people. Now, is LGBTQ, is it taking America in a good direction? Are we getting better from it? Are we seeing fruit from this? Or is this something that they don't want to start because they've seen the fruit of it? And I gotta say that I'm really thrown by, I don't know if you guys are. I mean, and truth and honesty, if you think about it, truth and honesty and love and respect shouldn't cost billions of dollars, to fall in line with. And it's something that 99% of the people in the world would do for free because it's the right thing to do. And we've all heard the phrase, don't sell your soul to the devil. It sounded like a movie scene where the evil-looking red-horned fellow with a tail and pitchfork comes in and sits at a table with you and gives you a wish in exchange for your soul. Then after a while, you want your soul back because your wish turned into a curse, and you've had more time to think things over because you've opened the Pandora's box to evil. The revelation comes. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. So what if the devil was the one printing the money, though? He said $19 billion here. If the devil was printing the money and you couldn't even feed your family, would you listen to the proposal? Africa isn't even taking the bait. They're actually laughing at the thought and of even hearing the opinions of the LGBTQ and are now taking leadership roles in the world against the movement. African leaders are not looking at the United States as an ally no more. They're referring to America as Sodom and Gomorrah. And now we're going to Ghana.
Why are you pushing this bill that would legalize hate and homophobia in Ghana?
A very good afternoon to your viewers, and I do not understand what you mean by pushing a bill that will legalize hate and homophobia. It's a bill to promote proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values. If you have another bill you're talking about, then maybe you've got the wrong man. But if you're talking to me about the bill I'm sponsoring in Parliament, it is to promote proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values.
What are these Ghanaian family values in your mind, sir? What do you consider Ghanaian family values?
Article 39 of the Ghanaian Constitution is clear that the state shall take steps to inculcate the right Ghanaian values, customary values, into society. the Constitution of Ghana states clearly that the National House of Chiefs is the custodian of Ghana's custom. This bill is supported by the Ghana National House of Chiefs, and the president of the National House of Chiefs spoke extensively at that conference where Ghanaian culture forbids homosexuality. And so Ghanaian culture...
These members of the LGBT community we're speaking to, sir, are also Ghanaians. They're also Ghanaian. They are part of Ghanaian culture, and they're saying they're gay, they're transsexual, they're bisexual. They are also Ghanaians.
Some of the individuals who were involved in planning terror attacks in America are American citizens. Is it American culture to kill people?
That's a false, that's not the same comparison. But what I want to focus on here is...
It's not the same comparison. You are telling me that because we have people who are carrying out an activity that is illegal per our laws already, and our culture frowns on it because they are found in our jurisdiction, that is our culture.
There were many things that were illegal that are unjust.
Innocent children and teachers?
Honorable MP, there are many things that were illegal, that were unjust, and those...
What an awesome depiction. So you're saying just because they're Ugandan means they can't commit crime, and it's a crime in our state. Look at this American. This is a CNN broadcast. Look at them pushing their views on another country, saying we're more ethical and more just than you are, when it's the same country, CNN in America, that went out and got slaves. Now he's trying to push their view, saying we're more ethical than you. And this guy from Uganda is just totally, what a fighter. But is it right what the guy from CNN is doing in questioning the man's faith and questioning the country's faith? Let me know what you think down below.
Those laws were changed because they are unjust.
Well, laws are a reflection of society. Until 1960, American society did not find women fit to vote. And so women did not vote there. When they found them fit to vote, society evolved. Society evolves. At this point in time, the Ghanaian society is in a position where it says it is not welcoming of homosexuality. And any other person must respect the views of Ghanaian society. The CDD, which is a far-right, liberal think tank here in Ghana, carried out research which was published on the 1st of July. In fact, the academics who have sent in a memo against this bill have two of their fellows, the CDD's fellows in there, the Center for Democracy in Ghana, Democratic Development. They've been clear. Ghanaians are 97% tolerant of Ghanaians of different ethnicity, 94% tolerant of people of different religion, 91% tolerant of persons of different political persuasions, 71% tolerant of migrants and foreigners, but only 7% tolerant of homosexuality. That is the system, that is the society of Ghana.
What's your reaction to the members of the LGBT community, sir, that we've been speaking to, who tell us they're afraid for their lives when this...
He just told this man from CNN the stats, broke them down nice and simple. We have 97% saying it's okay for this or religion or anything, any beliefs in that area, but only 7% of Uganda approves of the LGBTQ. So that's why they're going to keep the law. That's kind of what democracy is. What do you think about this? What do you think about the pushing, the forcing? Are they looking to start a war here? Is America looking to start a war for the LGBTQ? Because we're losing Africa. We're losing so many countries right now over this LGBTQ thing that it's getting it's getting comical. These countries are literally laughing at us. I don't like that. I don't like the look. I don't like the feel of trying to push our agenda when most Americans don't even agree with this lifestyle onto other countries. And it's just a chosen few that are doing this in politics. Our political, they've got voted in. But I don't think that they know, the people out there really know who they're voting for, what they're voting for.
This bill passes, if this bill passes, that they're afraid to even leave their homes.
Well, anybody who is engaged in an illegal activity should be afraid of the law, shouldn't you? then there will be no essence of law. But let's be clear about this. The United States in 2021 remains the most dangerous place for homosexuals.
Sir, this is not about the United States. This is about Ghana. This is about Ghana.
Homicide.
This is about Ghana, so I want to focus on Ghana, sir. Hang on. Let me ask the question. Let me ask you the question, sir. This is about Ghana.
He just threw him under the bus. He said, "Look, you're telling us that it's a problem? The most violence going towards homosexuals is in your country with your laws, and you want us to turn our laws into your laws?"
You are, as part of this bill, legalizing conversion therapy, which UN experts consider torture. Do you believe that homosexuality can be medically treated?
Well, tell me how individuals who are born men and decide to become women.
That's not an answer. Do you believe that people can be cured of homosexuality by some sort of treatment?
Wow, what about that? Ladies and gentlemen, okay, he's saying, do you think that this can be cured medically? The gentleman from CNN said, do you think this can be cured medically or by psychologically? And the man from Ghana says, well, how do you when people feel like they're a man or a woman and they treat it medically or psychologically. So yeah, you were treating it the same way you're treating it. Only we're treating it to go in the opposite direction because of the effects that it's had on our country. Wow, this guy's good.
Of homosexuality by some sort of treatment?
He got cut off. They get him back. Hold on.
I apologize. We appear to have lost the MP, Sam George. The connection is not that great. If we can reestablish that, we'll try and come back to him. And before we lost you, we were talking about conversion therapy, which is considered torture, and your bill would legalize that. Do you want to torture people in the name of curing homosexuality?
I was making the point that the individuals who decide to become transgender, who decide to change their sex from male to female, apart from undergoing surgery, also engage in hormonal treatment. Is that torture? Because I don't see how different hormonal treatment is from what you call conversion therapy.
Is not the same as conversion therapy. These are very, very different. This is a false equivalence you're making, sir.
No, what's the difference? I would need for you to
I am not a medical expert, but it's been by UN experts who look into this have considered conversion therapy as torture.
Larry, if you're not a medical expert, and I'm saying to you that we've spoken to the experts here in Ghana, and there is nothing different because conversion therapy is a hormonal treatment. And I'm saying to you that when individuals choose on their own volition to change their sex, they undergo hormonal treatment. Men go and take estrogen shots to be able to develop female features. And that's the same thing.
That is not the same thing. That is not the same thing. But I want to move away from that because you talked about the United States. You talked about the United States.
The man just said that's not the same thing. And the Ghanaian said, you just said you weren't a medical expert, so how can you tell me it's not the same thing? That was a classic. This guy's, wow.
This American organization held a conference in Accra in 2019, and shortly after you introduced a bill with the same language, including family values. So you're influenced by a right-wing organization which is considered one of the most hateful organizations exporting hate around the world. Is that correct?
It can't be farther away from the truth. Larry, I was never, myself and none of the 7 other colleagues of mine was at this conference. In fact, this conference came to my notice after the CNN's David Mackenzie asked me about it. I have had absolutely no contact with the World Council of Families.
So you want to make it difficult for anybody to live an open, free life because of who they love in Ghana, and you want them to go to jail for 10 years. You're happy with that?
Well, you haven't read my bill. It's a misinformation to say that anybody who's found guilty of a homosexual act to go to jail for 10 years. That's a misconception you're peddling, and you should not do that.
They can go to jail up to 10 years. This is just one of the many penalties that is in the bill, sir, that you're encouraging Ghanaians to report anybody who is suspected of being LGBTQ. Is that correct?
Larry, I would advise that you put a job at what you're doing, okay? If you want to put a spin on a bill, right? This is my bill that I've passed before Parliament. I'm going to read to you Section 6.3 of the bill, or to a term of imprisonment not less than 3 years or not more than 5 years, or both. So when you talk about 10 years imprisonment for persons engaged in homosexual activities, you are misleading the world, and that's unfortunate.
All right, so you think, okay, 10 years is too much, but 5 years is perfectly fine for somebody who's gay in Ghana to go to jail.
Well, that is the punishment for a second-degree felony in Ghana. And the activity of homosexuality is a second-degree felony.
Honorable George, are you just a hateful person who does not want people who are different from you to have a life in Ghana?
That is a defeatist approach to ask me a question, a defeatist line of questioning, that I'm a hateful person. If I'm a hateful person, we will not be protecting the rights of persons with LGBTQ and saying that you should not, they have a right. They have a right to a fair trial before a competent court of jurisdiction. Section 22 of our bill.
What would you do, sir, if your son or daughter was gay?
Well, thankfully, I have 2 sons and a daughter, and none of them is gay.
That's not the answer. What would you do if one of them was gay?
You're asking me to go into the world of abstracts. I'm a lawmaker. I deal with specifics. I deal with specific stuff. I don't deal in abstract. Maybe you should be talking to a storyteller or something.
Will you take responsibility?
For persons who have HIV/AIDS. The Ghana AIDS Commission is telling us that men having sex with men, MSMs, homosexuals, are leading the surge in HIV prevalence in Ghana. $200 million could have fixed the water problem in my constituency.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, Sam George.
Wow. What did you think about that? What did you think about that? This is Africa talking to America. And America is literally calling them criminals and saying that they support hate crime. And they're, wow, I don't know. I don't think that's right for America to be pushing an agenda, which it is. It's clearly an agenda. It's clearly an agenda, and it's been pushed here in America more than it has in anywhere across the world. And in basically those very high society white nations are pushing the LGBTQ or LGBT thing. It's France, Canada, England, United States pushing, mainly white countries. Are they looking to go to war with Africa here? It seems to me that Africa's not bucking. They ain't bowing to this. They're not playing it. And I stand with Africa on this. I stand with them. I do think that I do feel like the criminalization of it is maybe not the place for the courts to decide, or maybe, I don't know how I feel about that. That part is kind of touchy. That part, but I never knew that Africans were polar opposite of African American Democrats. Yeah, my views were polar opposite. The Africans and African American Democrat liberal African Americans are kind of in the same boat with the white liberal American, Democrats. It's kind of like this hardcore white liberal, black liberal Democrat, or the majority of the African Americans are hardcore LGBTQ. At least that's what portrays on the media, that the majority of the African Americans are hardcore LGBTQ. They kind of piled them together. And I'm starting to feel like that was well played, but not accurate. Because I'm seeing so many African Americans now starting to turn over to, their faith, being more convicted by their faith and seeing that what the far left is doing is very wrong. Most people think that this is a stereotype of African American voters to their country of origin. I just described the vast majority of Americans, regardless of your ethnicity. That's just how they put them. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know everything about the current state of Africa and it's all infinite wisdom. I'm just here to learn along with you guys. So let me know what you think about Africans as opposed to African Americans. Is there something that that we're not being told that it's deeper than where it looks, because we're giving billions of dollars. It shouldn't cost billions of dollars to do the right thing. If people are against it, you don't have to pay them billions of dollars to be for it. Their conscience, everybody's got a conscience to do the right thing. Most of them, 90% of them at least. But I'm starting to see the picture here. Now, I'm not trying to red pill anybody. I don't even like that word, that term, red pill, but I'm trying to enlighten myself. Now, the question is this, should this be criminal? Should it be? Because I don't know about being criminal, which, I mean, if that's your country and they say it's a crime to do that, then don't do it there. I suggest you hide it well or whatever. Like it's a crime to do drugs in America. A lot of people in America still do drugs, but if you get caught for it, you pay the penalty. That's just how it works. Now, I'm going to go over to the Guardian had a very interesting article on this, and let's read it together and let me know what you think about this. Ugandan president calls on Africa to save the world from homosexuality, and I got a clip on that. I could show you that, but I think you've seen enough clips. But let's read this. In this, Museveni, he's the gentleman who was laughing at the question of the homosexuals want to talk to you, and he's like, yeah, well, tell them to go talk to somebody else because we're not buying it here. But Museveni says homosexuality is a danger to procreation of human race at Entebbe conference hosted by U.S. anti-LGBTQ hate group. They called him a hate group. The Ugandan president Yoweri Museveni has called on African leaders to reject the promotion of homosexuality, suggesting he'll sign a bill into law on controversial anti-LGBTQ bill, which was passed by Parliament last month. So it's probably going to go through. The bill, which imposes the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality and life imprisonment for recruitment, promotion, and funding of same-sex activities, has been widely criticized internationally, with the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights urging the president not to sign it. Speaking on Sunday, Museveni said homosexuality was a big threat and danger to the protection of the human race. He said Africa should provide the lead to save the world from this degeneration and decadence, which is really very dangerous for humanity. If people of opposite sex stop appreciating one another, then how will the human race be propagated? Now, is he lying there? He's right. I mean, I just did a video not too long ago on how all these things are depopulating the world. You got COVID, you got wars, you've got the LGBTQ. All these things are depopulating and trying to promote less people in the world. And that's kind of what he's saying. I think it's a horrible, I don't think it's the best leg to stand on as far as saying we're against it. It should be considered more of an ethical, moral thing than maybe a statistical population thing. But, he's playing every card I think he's got, and he's got quite a few to play. Let's keep going. Museveni praised Ugandan MPs for passing the anti-gay bill and vowed never to allow the promotion of publication of homosexuality in Uganda, stressing that it will never be tolerated. A Ugandan LGBTQ activist who asked to remain anonymous for their own safety attended the conference via Zoom under a pseudonym. They are drawing up an African strategy to fight homosexuality. They want their government heads to commit to what they called the African position, the activist said. The conference held on Friday and Saturday specifically called Zambia, Tanzania, and Ghana, which were visited last week by the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, to reject American influence, said the activist. Now, wouldn't you just, that's normal. You reject an influence coming into your country that you disagree with. We reject that. So it's not like a far-fetched rejection of Kamala Harris coming in and saying, here's 16 million or 16 billion, whatever, 80 million to put this flag up in our embassy or to throw this flag on the cars of your political. Who knows how they're doing it, but you know how they do. But here, they're trying to pay us, and they said we're going to reject that. That's their gig. If they've got the right to do it, they've got the right. They're calling on African countries to now seriously fight the corruption, be self-reliant, and break free from Western support. They're no more money. Don't take their money. It's blood money is what they're saying. It's not It's not where we want to be involved. We don't want to be in covenant with this. The government tweeted that Kaluma, who attended the conference, had said many African states were drafting laws similar to the one in Uganda, including Kenya, Ghana, and Malawi. Stella Nyanzi, an Uganda feminist activist who was imprisoned for criticizing Museveni, said she condemned both the manipulative organizers and the gullible participants in the so-called Family Values Conference. So they considered it a Family Values Conference. Okay. And this activist who was imprisoned by them already, of course, she's going to say something against it. Nicholas Opio, a Ugandan human rights lawyer and campaigner, told The Guardian, the wave of homophobia and transphobia in Uganda and the region has nothing to do with Ugandan or African values. It's a disguised campaign by American evangelicals through their local actors. Their campaigns now have been organized under what appears to be a local professional entity such as Christian lawyers, groups, parliamentary forums, and so forth. Their claim about African family values is only a dog whistle, a hate campaign, and imposition of a narrow Christian worldview upon itself. Once again, the Ugandan gay community is a target of this misinformation, hate, and culture wars. Now, doesn't it seem like that's the picture that they've been painting on Christians for some time now? If you're a Christian, you're in a hate group. If you're a Christian, you don't have the ethics and morals to be. Well, here's the thing. If you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Hindu, you're in the same boat. They're starting with the Christians. They're moving on to the Muslims. They will move on to the Hindus after that. I mean, it's all this domino effect of them being able to label a religious organization as a hate group. Why do they need to label religious organizations as hate groups? Why? Because, well, they need to place their laws, human laws, over godly laws. Because right now, godly laws are still the reign supreme in the world. And they can't take the control that they need with these godly ethics and morals and values of the Bible or the Quran or any of those books that the religious groups adhere to. They've got to dismiss that. And if they can dismiss it for being hate, well played. But that doesn't sound to me like it's the right thing to do. What do you think? I don't think it's the right thing to do. And I know this video is getting really long, but there was a lot in it, and I just wanted to bring it to you because it was a thrashing to my heart that it was like, wow, is this really going on? Is this really happening in Africa? So what's the next step? What's the next step that they take? What would you do if you were in Africa? I mean, a lot of people are on Africa's side with this. A lot. I mean, I would say the majority of the world is siding with Africa. You heard the one gentleman, Mapanga, said, hey, we're going with the Russia and Chinese on this. Because, and that, when somebody says, hey, we're going with Russia and China on this, whoa, slow down. We have a problem. We have a problem. Call them hate groups and say, oh, you guys aren't going to be with the LGBTQ. We're dismissing you guys altogether. That's just out there. That's just way out there, man. We need to come, hey, man, wait a minute. Maybe it's us that need to do something a little bit different here. Maybe it's us that need to adhere to our values a little bit stronger here. I'm not saying go and prison homosexuals. I'm not saying that. But as far as promoting them and having to promote an agenda or promote something that's against your faith, no thanks. No thanks. Count me out, man. Count me out. I am going to promote Jesus Christ and the Holy Bible and His Word over anything else. That's it. That's where I stand. And you can't call me hate group for that. It's all about love. We need to get this straight, the truth, because people are willing to get rid of the truth for what's being sold to them as a lie. Not only what's being sold to them, what's being bribed to them. You know, choose this day whom you will serve. And it looks like Africa is, and the Africans have chosen. And they're not going to be moved. So I take my hat off to you guys. I take my hat off to you guys. And hopefully this information here, this video helped a lot of you out there understand what's going on in Africa. We wouldn't have a conclusion without sharing information with each other. When you're right and you're wrong, we wouldn't have the information that would bring us forth to a conclusion to bring us forth to a solution. So let's find a solution here Tell me what you think about what is going on and what the difference between Africans and African Americans are to you, if there is any, other than voting blue and voting red.